I recently tried out Bubble's AI app builder, and I had so much fun that when I stumbled across Glide's AI app builder, I had to try it out. My name is Anya, and this is
Original strokes.
I'm going to start by clicking New App, and then I'm going to choose AI Generated. Let's click Create. We see this pop up, and now we can describe the app we want to create. When I tried out Bubble's AI app builder, we made a marketplace for used books. Let's do the same here. Let's click Generate. This was generated much faster than Bubbles. And let's take a look. We get this handy preview, and let's see what it looks like. Right now we have this book's home screen. I did say a book marketplace, so that makes complete sense. We have prices and then images and a name. I see no search bar or filtering. There are a couple different tabs. One of them is users. This doesn't make that much sense to have, but I suppose it's all right. We see transactions as well. This makes sense because we are having a marketplace. But the moment we click on anything, we're redirected to the editor. So let's look at here. Wow, right off the bat, we can see that from the preview to the editor, we are given two completely different apps. The search bar and filtering that I was talking about not having before, it does actually have that search bar, as well as editing and capability to add a book. Categories make sense, but the transactions tab looks significantly worse. And it looks almost exactly similar to our books tab, as opposed to the list, which was a little more fitting, as we saw in the preview. The users tab, like I said, doesn't really make sense. And overall, I just feel like this app is meh. It doesn't do that much. Some of the logic doesn't really make sense, and it looks like the basic Glide app that you would create. There's nothing really unique, and I think I would have to go back and fix a lot of the logic here, so you might be better off just starting from scratch. But I'm not gonna give too harsh a criticism right now. Let's try a couple more apps and see how that works. Let's make a new one. This time, I want to give it a very specific prompt and see how it's able to fare. Basically, in the last one, that was a more general thing about a book marketplace, but I want to give it some super specific, complicated functionalities and screens that it needs to build out and see how that's able to do at that task. I just want to preface that I'm not nowhere expecting it to be able to actually build a fully functioning app, especially after what we saw before. But it would be nice to see how much of this it's actually able to build out and how much of our specification it can follow instead of just relying on a basic template. I said create an app for a teacher to manage her classroom, allow the teacher to create assignments for different students, have students on the app, assign students to different tasks, view a calendar of all the assignments, and assign grades. So there are a couple different pages that need to be built out. There also needs to be some connection between teachers and students. And let's preview this. I'm going to click create app because we know that in the editor it looks slightly different than the preview. So let's go straight here. And wow, it looks different again. Here we have a grades tab, which is definitely something I described. But right off the bat, it looks like the logic doesn't make that much sense. It's showing an arbitrary user and then the grade on one specific assignment. Ideally, you would want these grouped either by user, where you see their grade on every single assignment, or by assignment, where you see all the users' grades on those. We are able to edit the grade, which is good functionality. We can look at assignments as well. I did ask them to be able to assign it, and we see that they were able to add a due date field, but it looks like a random assortment of numbers, not like an actual date. Also, the logic here doesn't make sense. If I'm the teacher, why is there some not started tab here? Because I'm not the one who needs to start it. Additionally, I said you should add assignments to users, and that didn't happen. Here we see a students tab, and we see a bunch of different teachers here. Like Emily Johnson is a science teacher. Why is she under the students tab? We can see subjects as well. We can look at math, that's taught by Miss Johnson, and we see that that correlates to our teachers in the students tab. But here it says Emily Johnson is a science teacher. So again, there's some sort of disconnect. I said that it should have some sort of calendar. We know that it has this functionality because in the style tab, we see that calendar view, but it wasn't able to build that out. Overall, I'm disappointed. Like I said, I wasn't expecting it to build the whole app, but not a single one of these pages is usable because the logic simply does not make sense. We can try another app. This time, let's just give it a much more broad prompt. Create a dashboard for managers of a cupcake bakery. This is a very common use case. This should be a simple app, and let's see how it's able to do. Again, a plus is that it's built out really quick, but we see the pictures look kind of strange. Some of these aren't cupcakes. There is this orders tab, which looks good, this completed checklist functionality. That is definitely something we want. And we see the same disconnect where it says customers, but it looks like Sophia Wilson's an assistant baker, which looks like an employee. We see sales as well. We can see prices, quality. The price looks a little strange, but I suppose that is functionality that's important. Let's view this in the editor. I know it's going to change a little. Let's see what that looks like. We see the same thing that happened with transactions in books, where sales and cupcakes now look the exact same, which doesn't make sense at all. Sales tab looked much better in the preview. Again, the images are messed up. A lot of them aren't cupcakes, and we still see customers as employees. The orders tab that I was praising for having the checklist, remove that functionality. It's now just a much more basic list view. At least this logic makes sense, but it's not very interactive. You have to do 3 clicks to say that it's completed as opposed to 1. The last thing I want to try is something super specific. I'm going to say a cupcake marketplace, and I'm going to say make everything blue. This is a very specific thing. It shouldn't be too hard. And there's a yes or no. Was it able to make it blue or not? And wow, it was not able to live up to that prompt. Not only are these completely not cupcakes, some of them aren't even that blue. The names don't make sense. That one thing was able to, looks like, break the whole functionality. Orders doesn't make sense as well. Those aren't cupcakes at all, nor are they blue. Here we see reviews, which is a good thing to have on a marketplace, but it's repeats of images and just looks strange. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Glide's new AI, but I gotta say, I think Bubble wins this one. Even though Glide was able to have that additional functionality of searching and then adding and editing some things right off the bat, whereas Bubbles was more of a template, at least Bubbles made sense. Glide was trying to do too much, build these out from scratch, and it did not live up to that. While Bubbles is a lot more basic, it just changes some words here and there. It's a good starting point. With Glide, I think you'd be better off just building from scratch because none of these pages make any sense whatsoever.